talk a little bit about like your background? How did you get started with all this mindfulness?
I think my journey began as a child when I had asthma. My parents were encouraged to put me into sports at a young age to help me beat it. And I'm really grateful that they did. So I was always into sports as a kid and very physically active and healthy. And it helped to overcome a lot of my asthma. And I played soccer and ran cross country and track. And after college, I ended up becoming a personal trainer because I was always into like working out in the gym and lifting weights. And I was a very casual yoga student when I was first in college. My roommate invited me to a class one time when I finally was like, okay, I won't go to the gym. I'll go to this yoga thing. And it was a hot Bikram yoga class. And I remember being so humbled in that experience. I was like dripping sweat, falling over. Here I was, this like muscle bound 20-something-year-old. And I saw all these different people, all these different age ranges and body types and sizes that were cool and calm and collected, and opened my eyes to understand how much more to wellness and fitness there was than just the aesthetics and lifting weights, which is kind of what I knew as a young person. So throughout those years as a personal trainer, I would go to yoga every now and then just to kind of wring and flesh out my body, but I was still much more in the physical fitness side of things. And then ultimately I became really interested in holistic wellness, and seeing that there was more to the puzzle than even just lifting weights and yoga. So I saved up money to do my dream backpacking trip through Europe and Asia to kind of study wellness techniques throughout the world. And it was in that time that I ended up living in India for almost 6 months and just fell in love with everything there and decided to do my teacher training there. So I did my 200-hour teacher training in India at an ashram in the Ganga River. And we were waking up at 5 a.m. every day to meditate and do an hour of breath work before we'd even get on the mat. And it was the first time I'd ever done yoga for 30 days in a row. And it totally changed my life. I remember just kind of floating and feeling like in this different mental, emotional state beyond just the physical benefits, which of course were amazing too. So it was during that trip, I realized like, this is what I want to do and share with the world. And I just kind of fell in love. So I moved back from the travels, and I was doing personal training and some Thai massage that I'd learned and some yoga. Moved to San Francisco for a fresh start. And 6 or 7 years later, here I am. And I've kind of honed in on just more of the yoga and the meditation. It's become my passion. And that's what brought me here today.
Wow, that's really incredible. What a journey to get there.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is another question I have. Right now, the world is facing such anxiety with the pandemic happening right now. How have you found yourself dealing with that?
It's definitely been a lot. I'm not gonna even pretend that I've been cool and grounded the whole time. It's brought up a lot of fear and anxiety and panic and worry in me. I felt the whole range of things. I think we've all kind of had a roller coaster with accepting it and processing it in different ways, and to become very real that we were going to be home and things were going to be closing and all of that. And then they did. I just remember being very panicked and fidgety and extremely stressed out. I found myself like scrolling through social media and news more than ever. I was like addicted to screens, always wanting to find information. And I really felt myself lose touch with my sense of being grounded, and even my practices. So I got swept up in the fear and anxiety and panic. I think that everyone was feeling to different levels of it. And over the last few weeks, it's kind of smoothed out. I think what the experience for me has been like the world under a microscope or a magnifying glass. Like everything that I kind of already knew and sensed and felt is just been really intensified. And so what I mean by that is like, I always know that we got to slow down and take deep breaths and to not spend too much time on screens. And it just seems kind of like hyper focused into our awareness right now. And so, yeah, I've definitely felt the whole range of gamut, and it's made the practices, the yoga, the meditation, and everything else even more pertinent than ever to remember myself and to be able to share with people.
How has teaching changed? Because I know you're going on to virtual and digital teachings now. How has that changed for you?
Yeah, I mean, this was a totally new experience. Before the studios closed, I started to reach that point where I felt like I wasn't comfortable coming in anymore and needed to make that call. And I made the call to cancel all of my classes ahead of the studios being forced to shut their doors. And in that time, I knew that this was going to be something we were going to have to adapt online. So I did my first Zoom yoga class, and it was amazing. And I was like blown away. And there was over 25 people that came. It's been an incredible experience. I mean, it's obviously very different not to be in person with people, but I think the sense of connection is still there. I have a lot of fun with it, getting people to engage, and in between the flow, and we take a moment to take a breath or a sip of water, we kind of like lean in and send a little bit of love to each other and interact with people and smile and play. So I think there's a lot that we can still have this sense of connection with. As a teacher, I'm on the mat and I'm just doing the whole practice. I'm not having to walk around the room and try to correct people and do that. So it's great for me because I get to be in my body, and it's great for people because they have the practice, and it's different. But I think a lot of students have really enjoyed it too. People are saying, "Hey, this is great. I get to like wake up. I don't have to drive anywhere. I can do it in my PJs or whatever I want. I can have the screen on or off. And then when I'm done, I can just roll over and go to work and work from home or make breakfast." So we're reducing the carbon footprint, which is one of the great benefits of this crisis right now, that we're not moving around so much. So I think a lot of students like some elements of it. And I think there's a lot of ways we can still keep people feeling connected. Just showing up and having a group to be with right now is so important.
Yeah, and I think people have a hard time making connections right now because they think they can't do their normal routines like they used to be able to. So it's nice that you still have that platform that they can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been more important to have consistency in these practices. So after I did the first one-off class or two, I quickly just made a schedule, and I've been trying to be pretty consistent with my schedule, so that people can have some steadiness in their lives to still do the practice and build their lives around things that are stable.
I saw that you were part of the Live Be Yoga. Can you speak on that experience? Because it sent you all around the US and London.
That was an incredible experience. It was a dream job. Yoga Journal put it on, and they did it for a couple of years. And it was essentially their like from the ground up investigative journalism, where they would pick 2 ambassadors to do a cross-country road trip to do yoga and blog about it and report about the state and power and impact of yoga in the West, and to get to collect the stories from the studio owners and from the students that the magazine wasn't necessarily getting, because it tends to be a lot of big name teachers and 6 tips for doing this or a yoga pose for this. But there's so much happening on the ground level with people that this was the opportunity to do that. And I never thought that I'd get picked. It was at a place when I was questioning what I wanted to do in San Francisco, and I was at a crossroads. So I threw out the application as a Hail Mary, and I got picked. So it was a total dream job, and it was amazing. So 6 months we were in a van with a total stranger. So it's this whole like sociological experiment in and of itself, just to be that close with a stranger for 6 months. Her name is Eris. She's wonderful. And luckily we got along most of the time, as much as you could hope and expect 2 people to do. And we got to create a lot of meaningful content, reporting on a lot of nonprofit organizations that are spreading yoga in good ways, from going into women's prisons where they have projects of not just giving yoga to the women there, but actually training them to be teachers so that when they get out, they have something to land on their feet and have stability and a job. We got to go to the Pentagon, where there are top level senior like defense officials. One guy who's a student in the Iyengar lineage, who's teaching yoga classes there so that he can help keep some of the people with the most high pressured powered jobs calm and grounded and meditative. And we got to see how that's actually trickling down from high levels of government. There's in Chicago that are using meditation and mindfulness as a way not only to heal their neighborhood, but to heal relationships with the cops and the police and rough and hard up neighborhoods. So there's a lot of like amazing stories that are happening with the way people are using yoga and meditation that we got to share. And I was so blessed and humbled to be able to do that. And the content is still up at Yoga Journal's website if you look up Live Be Yoga. And it's also linked on my Instagram too, the articles that I wrote for them and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely link that. Has that experience changed how you're a teacher or how you connect with people now?
It happened when I got the job was at a time where I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue teaching yoga, just because it's not easy. It's not easy to be this independent, working for yourself entrepreneur, and nobody really gets into yoga for the money or the paycheck. It's a passion job. But being in the Bay Area, it's not easy. It's really hard. And so I was questioning a lot of that. And I think what I felt going around the country was just more inspired than ever to share this practice, getting to see all the ways that it was being used and shared, really kind of reinvigorated the spirit for me. And I also got to feel like, okay, like I feel confident as a good teacher and somebody that is like meant to help deliver this in the West after kind of seeing the landscape. I mean, you see it all. You see studios and teachers that maybe aren't carrying the torch with the most integrity, and you see ones that are. And so I kind of realized where I felt like I fell in that was in a place of integrity, and it gave me a sense of duty and purpose to continue to teach and share these practices.
And I also saw that you recently came back from a retreat in Guatemala, Journey to the Heart. Take me back to those 7 days. Like, what was really memorable about this? What was so meaningful? And yeah.
That was a special trip, and it was just the first week of February, which seems like ages ago because it just seems like another world already, how quickly everything has been changing. But it was 7 days in Lake Atitlan, Guatemala, which is this really special lake, and it was kind of the heart of the Mayan world. And there's all these villages around the lake that have a little bit different flavor to them. And we stayed in this gorgeous property where we got to sing and chant and practice and meditate. And the journey to the heart was because it was a Bhakti Vinyasa retreat. I teach Bhakti Yoga, which is along with the path of devotion. So it really, as you're practicing, it just, to me, it means connecting to your passion, and remember that this practice helps us remain devoted to the world, in service to the world, and in love with the world. And so that was a lot of the spirit we got to celebrate and practice together. And there were some really potent parts. We got to participate in a authentic Mayan cacao ceremony with some locals who took us through their fire ritual. They had 20 or 21 rounds with the noales, which are like offerings to the fire and to the spirits, and just rekindling that sense of devotion. For many people in the West, it's not something that we have every day. And so every round of offering to the fire was for ancestors or for your projects or for your loved ones, or, it was just this taking a moment to honor the different aspects of our lives and our ancestors past and future generations as well. And the people are amazing and so welcoming and friendly, despite the fact that politically it always hasn't been that great. I mean, the U.S. and Guatemala hasn't had always the best relations, but I think that people are able to parse out people separate from the government and to really have that welcoming kindred spirit, which is beautiful to feel.
Absolutely. You've talked about so many incredible experiences. What do you think's the most rewarding part of your work altogether, as a mentor, as a teacher?
I love the fact that I feel that I get to leave people in a better place than when they come in, whether it's a studio class or online. And it's not what I'm doing, but it's what the practice does. Yoga is a great thing. Meditation is a great thing. And it helps to bring people to this calm, grounded center. It helps to open hearts and to help people who are really heady or having a lot of nervous anxiety up here to be in the rest of the body, to remember the intelligence of the rest of the body, the wisdom of the rest of the body. And I think that informs everything that people do when they go back out into the world. They have a greater potency and efficacy because they're more resourced within the body. The projects and the relationships people do, it just has this ripple effect that spills out. And so I love that feeling. One of the great things too that I've gotten to do is have a meditation channel on Audible. I've had content distributed like widely around the world, and I have the most amazing messages come through from people about how these meditations are helping their life, and especially now as well too, but even before all this. So it touches my heart to know that I am able to bring peace to people's hearts, to inspire people, to help them feel calm and grounded, throughout the world, which before the pandemic was already a difficult and challenging place a lot of the time, and now even more so. So I feel really lucky and blessed that I get to share something that helps bring people to a peaceful, calm, open-hearted place.
That's really great. Do you have any techniques that you'd recommend to people that are experiencing such high levels of anxiety right now, especially bringing work home now?
Yeah. I think there's so many. To keep it really simple, the breath is always a really beautiful way to regulate the nervous system and stress and anxiety. And even right now, if you want to, with me, take a big breath in and a big breath out. And it really only takes even just one of those to have a little bit of a shift. But if you want to take it a little bit further, the technique that is really impactful for people is to lengthen your exhales more than your inhales. So if you take a few moments to breathe on a 2, 3, or 4 count and exhale for a 4, 6, or 8 count, about twice as long with the exhale, that helps switch the body from the sympathetic stress response to the parasympathetic relaxation response. So anytime you feel yourself getting headier in the body, to just remember to breathe, but to breathe with a longer exhale. And if you want to take it even one step further, there's a technique where you can inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth with pursed lips and go. Inhale 3, 2, 1, and exhale mouth for about 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So just like that, remembering to breathe, remembering to lengthen the exhales, and to put the screen down when you do it too, because I caught myself just on it all the time. So take a moment to disconnect and come back to your breath is really the simplest and best way to do it, I think. If you have more time, you can join me for my live Zoom classes and get on the mat and practice together. I have 11 classes throughout the week, even in the middle of the day too. And if you're able to do that, that's also really helpful too.
Absolutely. I know I'm very interested because this is such an anxiety-inducing time.
Thank you. I think to just remember that the self-care practices that we get to do, whether it's yoga, meditation, and anything that we're doing to take care of ourselves, to try to always connect that not only to the benefit that we receive, but how it helps us to be a benefit in the world. Even if it's just being calm so that our roommate or our partner or our family member is able to feel calm, that's a great act of service. And then, of course, anything else that we're able to do, there's so much inspiration coming from the way people are making it, do-it-your-home masks or checking on elderly people in the neighborhood in times of crisis. Like they say, put the mask on yourself first, and then you can serve others. So whatever we're doing, I think it's important to always remember to try to give back a little bit more to other people as well. And of course, send so much love and gratitude and respect to the first responders and the people that are in the field and our healthcare professionals, because those of us that are sheltering in place are trying to do our best to contribute that way, but not everybody can. And there's plenty of people that have to go to work. And so just giving gratitude for those that are helping to keep the world go round and keep us safe, and remember that as well, I think is really important. And also to remember that, we have millions of years of evolutionary wisdom inside of us. This is not the first pandemic that's happened in the world, though it may be the first for most of us in this lifetime and in this generation. So we will get through it and it will pass and the human spirit will move on. And I think the last thing I would say to that is that there's always a lesson in things to remember and to see. We call it the seeing the guru and everything in yoga. And that just means how can we see the teacher in things. And so I think for those of us that have some time to be home, and anyone really going through this right now, to reflect on what we're being taught and what the lessons are. I've had a lot of, like I said, the reminders that are being really magnified to slow down, to take deep breaths, to be really present with people, to reduce our carbon footprint. Maybe we don't have to run out in the car 10 times a day or order 150 things on Amazon. They say, okay, maybe I don't have to buy a million things and with what I have right here in my body, breath, and heartbeat. And there's so many lessons coming out of it, and the ozone is healing and natural environments are repopulating with animals. And I think the earth is trying to tell us something about how we can live because we had kind of pushed things a little too far. So take care of yourself, take care of others, give gratitude to people that are working, and listen to the lessons that are out there.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. This has been very eye-opening, and I'm sure that everybody's going to really enjoy watching this.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time, Victoria. I appreciate it. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
Yeah, you too.
Have a good day.
All right, you too.
For more information about the Waking Hour